On parkbench.com, you'll find local news, events, deals, and meet the people that make McDonough home. Here's your host, Debbie Donaldson.
Well, hello there. Thanks for dropping in on parkbench.com, McDonough. I'm here with Sherry Devouse-Dennard, and I did say it right.
You did.
Oh, good. I always worry about that. I hate to rename people right on the show. And so Sherry and I met at Rotary. We both are new Rotary members here in McDonough. It's the Henry County Rotary. And Sherry, just tell us a little bit about yourself, State Farm, and why McDonough.
Absolutely. So, like she said, my name is Sherry Devouse-Dennard, and I am the CEO owner of Sherry Devouse-Dennard State Farm here in McDonough, Georgia. And I came this way from Lawrenceville, Georgia, actually, and before that, Virginia. And a long way before that was I grew up in Alabama. So, long story there, but made it here to McDonough. Why McDonough? Why not McDonough? McDonough is a small, very quaint town. I really love it here. The relationships here are huge. You know, for a small town, you find that relationship building is big, and I'm big on relationships as well. So it kind of really works well with my personality. Additionally, McDonough is just growing like a weed, right? And so why not have a business here where there are like 100,000 cars parked in front of the office every day? So for insurance, I saw it to be a wonderful opportunity to not just grow, in an insurance agency, but to build relationships in a very small, quaint town where you can really make a difference.
Yeah, your State Farm office is right here on 155, right off 75. Yeah. And so why State Farm?
Oh, why not State Farm, right? So State Farm is the #1 auto and home insurer. It's the biggest national brand that you can have backing you. So why not start with #1, right? So if you're going to go big, go big. So State Farm is just a wonderful company to work for. They stand for things that I stand for. They're very big on giving back and giving back to the community and, putting the customer first. And I believe in doing that as well. So it just really matched my values.
Well, speaking of customers, being in this business, you have got to have a customer story that just warms your heart. Something that happened that's special to you.
We get to meet a lot of great people here in this industry, and I have so many stories. I can remember opening my office in June of last year, and we just celebrated 1 year here in McDonough as an insurance agency here. So,
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. One story that really resonated with me, and I still draw back to, is an individual who lost their life very early on. He was only in his 30s, and it was a very heartfelt story. I'd only been open 1 month, and I got the call, and one fateful morning, a 14-year-old got in her mother's van, unbeknownst to mom, and he got in his car to go to work in 2 separate areas, and they met on one fateful morning, and he was killed instantly. He left behind one little girl, and she was the beneficiary, and so it took us months, for us to get that settled because it had to go through probate.
Right.
But at the end of the day, somebody was courageous enough to have that conversation with that young man, right? And so he was able to leave behind a legacy for that little girl, and I'm sure he didn't plan not to make it home that day. Right. So that, of many stories, but that one in particular really, really resonates with me, and why it's important that we have those conversations with our customers and have the courage to have those hard conversations, because you don't know, tomorrow's not promised.
Right. And it is so, for me and my husband, we talk about this sometimes to make sure that we have the right coverage, that that we've done the right thing for each other and then for our families.
Yeah.
But it's even hard for us to have that conversation.
Sure.
It's almost like, well, if you have the conversation, it means you're planning it, or that it's going to happen, or that you're willing. But it's not. It's it's there.
It's there.
In case it happens.
Well, it's going to happen. Let's be clear.
Right. Well, yes. None of us get out of this alive.
That's an RSVP that you cannot turn down. It's going to happen. So you can either plan, or your family will have to plan on the spot, and you don't want to have to do that. You want to be thoughtful. You want to make arrangements so that you don't leave that burden behind for the people that you love.
Right.
And out of all the things that we're protecting, our family is number one. So we say, right?
Right.
So that should be a priority.
Exactly. And so when you talk about priorities in your customers, what's the one thing that you think people maybe don't know about their insurance needs?
I would say limits of liability. The term full coverage, I think, is a myth, right? You're only covered up to the limits of your policy. So here in the state of Georgia, the limits are 25, 50, 25 at a minimum, but that's bare bones. And people really don't understand what that means. I mean, there's a lot of risk out here, right? Especially when you're on the highways and byways. And God forbid you're at fault for someone's accident, that's where liability protects you, from a potential lawsuit. So if you only have 25, 50, 25, you have a lot more risk there, right? Because you can eat up $25,000 real quick just going to Grady. And if your injuries are substantial enough. So just really understanding what those limits of liability mean and how it protects you and not just the other individual, I think it's important. I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, my husband and I have a commitment, and we review that every few years.
Yes.
Are we covered in the right limits?
Absolutely.
And we sit down with our insurance agent and just talk about it. So very, very nice. I thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I do have one more question for Sherry. I surprised her with this question today, and Sherry, you and I met at Rotary, and for those of you who don't know what Rotary is, it's a service organization where an organization of people, like-minded people, who come together and provide services for the community. And for example, this past weekend we did a big blue thank you and served lunch to all our law enforcement officers. But we do many things. And take a look at Tori Sundstrom's interview on Park Bench, and you'll see all the breadth of the things that Rotary does.
Yes.
But we all get involved for a particular reason.
Absolutely.
And so talk to us about your reason, your why.
What you just said nailed it, right? I mean, it is a way to, get involved in the community, not just myself, but with like-minded people. And when you have a bunch of people like that initialized, you can do bigger and broader things in the community. So why not get involved with an organization that's, again, very, very closely aligned with my values. And so to be able to share that with, like-minded individuals and impact the community in a much bigger way, that's very exciting for me.
Me
I love
too.
giving back.
Yes, absolutely. And as you watch this, might be October, coming up on November, Thanksgiving month, and community giving is so important to me and my family. And so think about, if it's not Rotary, is there something else? And I'm going to be interviewing some nonprofit organization leaders, so there might be ways for you to get involved in the community if you'd like. Thank you so much, Sherry, for coming on the program.
Yes.
And I look forward to seeing you on future interviews.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for having me.
Park Bench Interviews brought to you by Debbie Donaldson.
Debbie sells McDonough.com.